In a world filled with games, one team of elite gamers comes together to do the impossible. Complete their backlogs. Starring Grouchy Surge, Ryan Mathman Craig, Patrick the BacklogOdyssey, Mike Blaze Knight Grinnell, and featuring Jeremy the Trashturkey. When this team of elite gamers comes together, they form the ultimate combo, the Backlog Busters. Coming soon to a podcast near you.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to Backlog Busters, Season 2, Year 3, Episode 3, Part 2.5. I don't understand how people do this, like this season thing. Like, I was listening to Quest for Pixels, and they're on a different season, and Bobby was doing a different season on some of his Nintendo stuff, and, like, what happened to just the old episode numbering? What is with the seasons? The only seasons I'm going to be seeing in the near future is Animal Crossing seasons. So, anyway, I figured we should start this episode out like the old-fashioned magazines used to, with a fun letter to the editor. And even though we talked about this before we started recording, Mathman still wasn't ready. You hear those flips?
So let me go to the library for you, if you don't mind.
What was that cover?
Okay, so this is from the July 1992 issue of Nintendo Power with an awkwardly drawn Guile from Street Fighter II. And he is kicking. He's just kicking because he's so awesome, I guess. But here's a letter to the editor. It says, Dad said we can get the Super NES if we get along for 30 days. He already has it, but it's in the garage attic. He'll even cut it down to 20 days if things go well. I have two brothers who always fight, so I doubt we will get it. So have you guys ever done anything like that for your kids? Like you buy something for them, video game related. It's like, you know what? You just have to be good for a certain amount of time, then you can get it.
No, that's not anything I would do to my kids. I understand the value of video games as being a person who's grown up with them for my entire life. So to restrict people from having them is sacrilege at my house. How about you guys?
No, I can't say I've ever bought anything and withheld it, other than, like, say, for Christmas or something. But typically what would happen, it would be like I would set a limit on how much you could play, and if you say do your chores, you can come back and play more. But that's about the extent I've ever done it. I've never, wholeheartedly removed it before they even ever touched it.
No, I'm the remove it after they have it type.
Right.
Like, here's this game. And then my 14-year-old's like, why give it to me? You're just going to take it away anyway. But, being the disciplinarian, you have to set the rules and have people follow them. And, I have an out-of-whack teenager who thinks the rules aren't really made for him. So he likes to push those limits. And then let's go with the whole, what was it called? The data thing we were talking about in chat beforehand. He lost Wi-Fi at the house, so his phone doesn't do anything. But we compromised. We'll let him earn his data over the month if he does certain chores and stuff like that. However, he doesn't realize how much data he uses. So he had his first gig that disappeared within a day. So upstairs, there's a TV that has a Fire Stick attached to it. He can watch YouTube, he can watch Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. He can watch whatever. Downstairs, we have similar setups. So he has the ability to watch stuff on a TV. Instead, he'll sit on the couch in front of the TV and like put something random on the TV and then watch YouTube videos on his phone. And then he complains like, 30 minutes ago it said I had 75% of my data left, but now it says I only have, I've used up 90% of my data. This just isn't right. Something's wrong. I'm like, the fact that you're using your data to watch videos on your phone instead of putting them on the TV, that's what's wrong. Like, I was like, you're going to use all your data for the month. You're going to keep being like, what chores can I do to get it? And then we're going to have 3 weeks left before the data resets, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's like, 3 weeks? What are you talking about? I'm like, well, the data resets on the 21st. Tomorrow's the 1st, and you're almost out of data. I was like, so you have 21 days until you can earn more data again. Oh, that's not fair. Can you turn the Wi-Fi back on? I'm bored. Nope.
I think if maybe you could get him a third or a fourth screen to enjoy content on, maybe a fifth or sixth screen, try to just stack them just in like some kind of mosaic thing to try to get all the content to kind of rush over him. I think maybe typically at our house, what we do is we take the device or whatever it is and we put it on a stick over the child's head. And it dangles from a string in front of them. And then whatever we want them to do, they just kind of go towards the thing. And then, joke's on them because they can never get to it. No, no, actually, typically what we do, I guess the idea is, it doesn't always work this way, is that like the behavior that we want them to do, if they do it, then we will reward them. It's not like, here's the thing. If you do this thing that I want you to do, here's the thing. It's, you did good things. Here's the thing, because we want you to just do the right thing. And then we'll give you a reward. Maybe, maybe not. But it's not about the thing, hopefully. So we went into our letter to the editor, sir. Math Man, thank you for venturing into the library, pulling that Nintendo Power with that guile that did look like he kind of, I don't know, there was no way that he could make that pose without hurting himself.
There's something about Street Fighter, because I was looking through another one of my retro video game magazines, and it had the cover for the Super Nintendo version of Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And if you guys pull that up and look at it, it's just, to me, one of those absurd video game covers, like the original cover for Mega Man. You wonder, what were they thinking? And for Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you have E Honda doing that, 100 or 1,000 hand slap, and you've got Sagat who's kind of falling backwards. I'm like, why? They're not even like two of the main guys, in that franchise for that video game. It just seems so, I don't know. It just kind of turns me off from that. You need to have, Ryu or, M. Bison, someone, big on there. I know E Honda's big, but
he is big.
That's a different kind of big.
Yeah.
Does anybody think that his career path would have taken a different turn if somebody would have just high-fived him? Just one high five. That's all he was looking for.
So is that what happens if you have two E Hondas fighting each other at the same time?
Yeah, it's like slap and tickle.
It's just a
Except it wouldn't be a high five. It's like high 1,000 or something, right?
Pretty
it
close.
Would break the sound barrier.
We don't even want to talk about how on E Honda stage the graffiti starts to move. It's like that doesn't bother anybody.
I never
it's not
noticed
opium or something. I don't know what it is that those sumo wrestlers smoke. I don't know.
So I'm going to volunteer the next topic to be Jeremy's topic, which he talked about in the last episode. And we completely skipped and overlooked it. And I forgot all about it until I listened to his Turkey on the Run segment. And that is Smash characters, Jeremy.
Smash characters. I was like, what?
I know. You were like, what was I talking about?
I will say to all the listeners and you guys, I'm not a Smash player, so I don't know what up B or down, like triangle. See, I said triangle. Like that doesn't even exist on a Nintendo Smash thing, right? So, you know, if I don't like exactly tell you all the moves of these characters and their specials, it's not even a special, it's a final smash, right? Anyways, so on the Turkey on the Run, I talked about like Kunio. So from the Kunio-kun games, all the River City games, all those games, and then you could have like Ricky be the what do they call that? The shadow or the
Echo Fighter.
Echo Fighter. Yeah, so Ricky would be the Echo Fighter. Also, there's like tons of different characters in that series that you could just like palette swap really easily. I would love for it to be an 8-bit, like, you know, I guess it would have to kind of be in that art style of Smash, but I think it would be really cool if it was still kind of an 8-bit look for those guys. My second one, again, probably people could guess this, but I really like the Power Pro series, and I think the main character, who they call him Chief, also his I guess the other guy that's with him a lot in the story portion is Yabe. But those characters, I think, would be a cool character for Smash. Because Ness already has like a bat swing. So you could do like bat swing. You could do like a slide into a base. Or, you know, you could like, you know, he could pitch. You know, so I think the Power Pros player, Chief and Yabe, would be a good choice. And then my third choice is a Wii costume. So my Wii costume would be something called Accessor Me, and it's a me character that uses NES or really any Nintendo accessory from, you know, years before or current, I guess. But so I'm thinking of like he has a zapper, or she a Super Scope 6, you know, he's got a Power Glove, and then like, you know, maybe an NES controller as like a whip. And he's got like Final Smash is the NES Advantage, just like coming down on the whole level, because that thing's like a giant weight that would just smash everyone and send them flying. So that's my my thought on my Smash characters, that on a game that I have no idea like anything about it. So there you go.
So I was thinking that depending on which accessory they're using could change the final smash. Because while you were talking about that, I was thinking that if they were wearing like the Power Glove and activated the final smash, Fred Savage could come on screen, distract everybody, and then Mario would come from the other side of the screen for the Super Mario 3 tie-in and just bounce on everybody's heads and then kick a turtle, knock them off the edge.
But would you also get the cool guy in his leather jacket doing like the driving motion with the hand with the Power Glove? That's what I would want as well. Maybe he grabs the whole level and then just kind of like rocks it back and forth and then just shakes everybody off is kind of what I'm thinking. Like a giant version.
It's so bad.
It really is. It's for the bad boys, guys. So just saying. At least that's what I thought growing up.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I don't play Smash, but Echo Fighter is just a different character with the same moveset, right?
It's kind of like a palette swap sometimes. I think that they have a lot of the same moves, but it's really just more like a palette swap.
Okay. So
there might be some things that are different, but yeah.
You can have very minor differences between the characters. Like, for example, Marth has a ability where he hits you with the tip of his sword and it does more damage, where his Echo Fighter, Lucina, her sword does the standard amount of damage no matter where it hits.
Okay. Because with the topic, I was really just thinking of, like, who would be cool to have in Smash. And, like, I know they're not reasonable, but, like, my first thought goes to, you know, a guy like Kratos. Because he's got a whole lot of out there moves. I know that Smash is all about, like, directional button push, multiple button push, stuff like that. And Kratos has such a move set that it would fall perfectly into it. Kind of similar to, like, a Bayonetta or something like that. And I thought he would be great in there. And then his Echo Fighter could just be like Dante from Dante's Inferno, since it was a God of War ripoff. Or a different Simon Belmont from those 3D Castlevanias that tried to be a God of War ripoff. You know, something like that, where it truly would be just, you know, a palette swap. And then for his final Smash, it's all just a quick time event. So,
I like that.
X, square, X, triangle, circle, 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 circle.
Wait,
bam.
we're still playing on the Switch, right?
Yeah. I'm like,
Triangle thing.
Listen,
Hey, Kratos, get back
Jeremy
to the...
started it.
I did. I'm sorry. Triangle.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to blame it all on Jeremy because he has triangle in my head. Yeah. So anyway, that was my Jacob for Smash.
Like
I believe that leaves Patrick, Ryan, and Mike.
Well, I guess I can go. Since I know very little about Smash Brothers, which I guess is kind of a theme right now, I'm gathering that not a lot of us do actually play Smash Brothers. But mine requires a bit of a backstory. So, we all know Nintendo is kind of opening the doors to many different console creators out there, right? We know that Microsoft is coming in. It's letting their IPs on the console. So, in the next year or so, Sony is actually going to let themselves in. Not the other way around. You know, Nintendo's... You know, they open the doors. They don't wait for an invitation. Sony just walks in.
The last
and
time
then we'll
Sony
start
did
seeing...
that, Nintendo left him at the altar.
Exactly, yes. And this is probably to get back at them for the whole Sony Nintendo CD drive for the Super Nintendo, but you know, that's water under the bridge at the time. But anyway, so we start seeing PlayStation exclusives on the Nintendo Switch. We start seeing things like Bloodborne and The Last of Us and the Order 1886. And Nintendo kind of becomes this demilitarized zone for console creators. We got Microsoft, we get PlayStation, we get Stadia, we get the NVIDIA Shield.
Are we going to get Steam and Valve?
We may even get... Actually, I even heard just recently that you can sign into Steam on the Witcher 3 version on the Switch.
Yeah, it's a cross between PC and then your save can transfer over to the Switch. I've heard that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so already demilitarized zone, right? For console creators.
Sweden.
And one of the big things, the most important things, is that we will see, because of this, Sam Porter Bridges in Smash Brothers. The Sam Porter Bridges from Death Stranding. So, like I said, I don't know the nuances of Smash Brothers and how all the moves work and everything, but like in Death Stranding, Sam Porter Bridges is going to be able to pick up items and stack them on his back. He can, they can stack high or low or make them unbalanced so he can't even walk straight. You'll have to hold L and R to balance yourself. But he can also use this stack of items on his back as a weapon.
Ooh, I have a weird idea based just off what I've heard other people say. But as you're playing, I'm assuming he'll have his own dedicated stage because that's what Smash does. As you're playing, it'll be like other people in the world are playing because items will just start appearing, making like stage traversal more easy. Like there could be a ledge you can't get to, but like 30 seconds in, a ladder appears out of nowhere because someone else had used that. now you can get to that area. And then like maybe later someone will like leave a bomb. So if you can get up there, you can just kick it off and it'll like, or maybe it's like a baby in a bottle and you like.
Exactly.
But Nintendo's going to have to say there's no pee and poo. We're not going to be like going full Sony here, are we? Oh.
Now that Nintendo is the demilitarized zone, they have to start opening their doors to more open-minded ideas for game design.
That include pee and poo.
That include pee and poo.
So is this going to make Smash like, you know, like when you get this character in a character pack, right? Mm-hmm. After you buy the character pack and you play that character pack for, let's say, I don't know, 50 hours, right. Then that character actually becomes good. I've heard that like maybe your traversal gets better, but you have to play with that character for, 50 hours plus. And then, you can add an extra box to your back.
Exactly. And
more fun ensues.
And before you can even start a match, you have to deliver a package halfway across America.
That would be your loading screen.
It's a new gameplay experience that the kids are looking for these days.
Exactly. Yeah. To be the USPS in video game form.
Right. What are we doing in front of TVs anyways? We need to be handing boxes out to people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have a Japanese baseball player, Kratos, and a post-apocalyptic mailman. Mike or Math? Who wants... Wait, Mike, do you play Smash?
I do play Smash quite a bit with my son.
So we saved the two people who know the game for last. We did well. You guys can fight over who gets to go first.
All right, well, since I'm already talking, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and go. My original thought was Lara Croft, but I saw that she recently got added to another platform fighter called Brawlhalla. So I assume that deconfirms her for Smash. Hope it doesn't, but I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if she was not an option. So instead, I'm going to go with my second pick. And that's going to be Claire Red. I think she'd be a great addition. She has several different weapons to play with, just from Resident Evil 2 in particular. She could have her knife for her melee attacks up close and personal. She has a grenade launcher. If you go back to the PS1 version, she has access to a crossbow that shoots arrows in 3 different directions. That could be fun to play with. And let's see, well, what else do they have? Grenades. There's an electrocution gun. That would be fun. Sunlock people, and then have like your co-op partner kick them off the stage. I think that's the way to go. And then since everybody else is doing a final smash, I think that what she would do is she would summon Mr. X, right? And he'd burst through the wall. And the song would play. You know the song. X is going to give it to you, right? And then on his shoulder, it's a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher fires 4 rockets, and they all miss. And he just punches you. And then that's it.
I
because
really like the
Nemesis
idea.
uses the rocket launcher. He doesn't know what he's doing.
No, I really like the idea of them adding Resident Evil characters to Smash Brothers. As I mean, all the Resident Evils are now on the Switch, right?
Except for 7 and 2 remake, but they did just have a spirits event. Claire as a spirit. It had Leon and Chris and Jill and Wesker, but not Claire, which is why I'm leaning towards her as the option.
Yeah, see, I thought your whole conversation was going to take a different turn, and you're like going on and on about Laura, and you're like, but she's in Brawlhalla. So what we'll do is we'll get the male version who's actually a better character with more dynamic range and a better story. We'll go with Nathan Drake.
I've never played an Untitled, Uncharted, whatever those games are called. Never played them, actually.
Where's
so
the mute mic button? It's got to be on here somewhere.
Oh, that's right here on my headset. Right here. You can't reach it from there, though. Sorry.
I mean, it's only an inevitability that Nathan Drake would eventually make it onto Smash Brothers when PlayStation lets themselves in the door. So, I mean,
this is true. And also, I can't remember that character's name you were saying, but all those boxes on his back, all that Nathan Drake ever does is they like say, hey, I need to get over there. So you take a box and you drag it over and then you climb on it and then you get to the next thing.
Yeah, one of the things you stack on your back is Nathan Drake.
That's right.
Boy, you guys are all mentioning games that I have never played.
You never played Smash?
No, not Smash, but the ones they say, you're saying, hey, this character from this game should be in there. I've never played Resident Evil or Uncharted or Death Stranding, so I'm just kind of out of here missing out on all of that stuff. But
tell me, River City Ransom?
Tell me something good.
You know what? I have played a little bit of that. Barf.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
Final Smash. Barf.
So,
that could be like one of those, or a Smash Attack, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously this means that you're going to say the main character from Stardew Valley is your Smash character.
No, you know what? Whenever you put this out, when you put a call for this out a month or so ago, I sat down. I said, you know what? Let me list off the characters I think will be funny, some that I think will be legit. So here's some of my legit ones I would love to see there. First of all, the Battletoads. And you're going to have Rash, Zitz, and Pimple be Echo Fighters, and their Smash B attacks would be whenever their hands become really huge, or like the DOS boot thing where they just kick the opponents. That was just in my head. My son mentioned this a long time ago when they were going through the first round of fighters to add, and he would love to have seen Springman or Ribbon Girl from ARMS. I think ARMS didn't get enough love, and the characters are really fun, and it'd be really easy to throw them into a fighting game like that. Or having a...
Pretty sure one of them's an assist trophy.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% certain. Or an Echo Fighter for Link, based on the character model from Zelda 2. And I thought about you, Grouchy, for this one. It's kind of a toss-up between Karnov and the guy from Kabuki Quantum Fighter.
Ooh, Karnov. Love it.
And then here are my silly ones, the ones that I think are just off the wall, dumb, crazy. The Marble from Marble Madness.
Yeah, just like the Ghost or from Pac-Man.
Ooh, yeah. But then here's...
No, go ahead.
No, so my last one...
Yeah, this is brilliance. Don't interrupt this.
My last one. Do you guys remember Mortal Kombat 2 and how you could select Shang Tsung as your character?
Yes.
But when you picked him, you could also morph into any of the other characters at random, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my final selection, this is the guy that I want to see as DLC, is Sakurai. I want Sakurai to be a character, and when you do a certain button combination, he will randomly turn into any of the other fighters. So that means you have to get good, and you can't just say, I need him to turn into my main character. No, you just, now I get to play as Jigglypuff, or no, he's making me play as Piranha Plant.
This is a great idea. That is
so
awesome.
So Sakurai is the Shang Tsung of Smash Brothers.
I like it a lot.
Without the soul-stealing fatality that he does.
Okay, well that's good. Yeah, that would be inappropriate, I think.
But his final smash attack would be him inadvertently flipping you off. Because he doesn't really understand that it's for an American audience and what that symbol means.
Yeah, counting in binary, was it? And
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
He was counting in binary, and it was flipping people off.
So while
the soul stealing thing might not be too far out of the question, though, because in the Simon and Richter reveal trailer, Luigi did have his soul stolen by death. So it's not off the table, I don't think.
Maybe a sign of things to come.
Alrighty, so we've smashed that one out of the park. That was horrible. The next thing I wanted to move on to, just because Mike brought it up, and I threw the picture in here. Mike did not bring it up on this podcast. He brought it up like a week ago. But I've been seeing all these like lately. I've been seeing you have to choose one of this, or you have to choose one from this column, one from this column. And today I wrote a blog article about you have to pick one. Which one are you going to do? But there was a video game one out there, and it said you had to choose one from each column. There was like the Nintendo column, which has like Super Mario, Zelda, Smash, Metroid, Pokemon, and Fire Emblem. Then there's like PlayStation, which is God of War, Uncharted, Infamous, Ratchet and Clank, Killzone, and Gran Turismo. And then there's Xbox, Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, Crackdown, and State of Decay. And I was like, I know, since this is now no longer just me and Jeremy, we actually have people on here that like play different consoles as well. So I just kind of thought that it would be interesting to like see, what are people willing to get rid of? Like, what would you keep? And are any of them hard choices for you? Like, for instance, on just the Nintendo side, it's like Mario, Zelda, Smash, Metroid, Pokemon, and Fire Emblem. And it's like, I can get rid of Smash, I can get rid of Zelda, I can get rid of Metroid, Pokemon, but then it's like Mario or Fire Emblem. It's kind of a hard one for me because I love RPGs, I love playing long games, but like Mario might be my favorite franchise of all time, and I would probably lean Mario just because I've played more of them. But I was kind of interested in like how everybody feels about this, and if it, like, to you guys it's all just easy, like, well, duh, I would choose Zelda, Killzone, and Fable.
I think for the Nintendo one, at least, I think I was struggling between Mario and Zelda, and then I thought about their entire franchises and which ones, which of those two series have I played more of the entries. And it was Super Mario Brothers. Probably from beginning to end, for me, liking platformers, that meant the most to me, and I'd go back and play those guys over and over again. Especially, Super Mario World is one of my favorite games of all time. I really liked Breath of the Wild, but I stepped away from the Zelda games for quite a while, and I missed, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, the two on the DS, and even the ones on the Wii and the Wii U. So I feel like I'm not really connected to that one. So I could probably get rid of the other ones and just go with Mario for that one.
Alrighty. 2 against 3. Mario wins. Good talk, guys.
I'm with you, Ryan. It's really between Mario and Zelda for me. The other franchises, I mean, I like Metroid a lot, but it's nowhere near Super Mario and Zelda for me at all. Smash, I can do without. Pokemon, that as well. I like Fire Emblem. I like RPGs, but I have very little experience with the series. So between Mario and Zelda, I mean, like you said, there's more Mario games out there, and more of them are good. But Zelda, I feel, had more of an impact. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. No, what I'd say, like, Zelda just had more of an impact on me over the years. I mean, the only one I really ever missed was Spirit Tracks. All the others, I've always went out of my way to play them. I've always went out of my way to buy the re-releases, like the HD Wind Waker, the HD Twilight Princess, and so on. And if they re-release Skyward Sword, I'll replay it then as well. But then Mario, I don't know. I feel like I can share that with more people as well. It's an easier game to get into, and like playing with my son, like he likes Zelda, but I feel like we connect more over Mario. So it's so hard. It's so hard. Do I take the more selfish route and go with the game that I feel impacts me more, or the franchise that impacts more people around me?
Well, you've already mentioned how much, I think in the past, how much you really like the Mario Galaxy series.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that is true. I do very much like those. I think I will have to go Mario as well. Yeah.
How about you, Trash?
I'm not saying anything, but if this is a clean sweep, I'll respect you all guys more.
So looking at the list, I really enjoy all of these series with the exception of Metroid. And the only reason I don't enjoy Metroid is because I haven't played a whole lot of it. I played on the SNES Classic Super Metroid up until I got to what are they called? Little bird statues that come to life. And I couldn't. The Chozo, yeah. I could not get past that one. that I tried for exactly one attempt, and I didn't go back to it before I bricked my my SNES Classic. So very little experience with the Metroid franchise. Beyond that, Pokemon, loved that growing up, played a ton of it, but in more recent years, it just it doesn't work for me anymore. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't hold my attention anymore. So I'd cut that one out too. My natural choice would be Fire Emblem, because I love Fire Emblem and I love strategy and tactics games. Those are some of my favorites. But I know that without Super Smash Bros. Introducing Marth and Roy to the general population, Fire Emblem would have died. So if I pick Fire Emblem without Smash Bros., then I'm picking something that would have ended before I really had a chance to enjoy it. So I can't pick that one. I do love to play with my family, but without these other franchises, there's no characters left in Smash Brothers. So it would essentially become an empty game with nothing in it. Just Kratos, the baseball player, Claire, Redfield, Nathan Drake, Sam Porter Bridges, and the ones we came up with. So that one's off the table. So then it comes down to Mario and Zelda. For me, Zelda, I played a fair amount when I was younger, particularly on the N64. Beyond that, take that back. I did play some on the 3DS, specifically A Link Between Worlds. Never finished A Link to the Past, though. So I'm going to have to throw Zelda out, which means the only one left is Super Mario, which is great for me, because that would include the Super Mario Maker series, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So that's what I'm going to go with. Jeremy, what you got for us?
All right, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. All right,
You're unmuted.
I just had to mute myself because, I was just deep in thought and I had to kind of get it all out there. But I didn't want everybody to hear my thoughts, right? Because it's an audio podcast. And, I just wanted to tell everybody none of these games are important other than Super Mario. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Fire Emblem is garbage. Pokemon, I've only caught like 3 of them. Metroid, I mean, let's be honest. There hasn't been a good one for a while. Smash, Zelda, I don't know. I don't know what the hubbub's about. No, but seriously, I mean, the game that got it all started for me was Super Mario Brothers. Getting an NES and playing that game just blew me away. And then going into Blockbuster and seeing Mario in 3D on the N64, I was just like, this is out of this world. Like, video games can never get more impressive than this right here. So, I mean, Super Mario is the one to choose. It is a clean sweep, Serge.
And not only does it give us the Mario Maker games, it also gave us Mario Paint. Hopefully that counts.
Pivotal entry in the series, in my opinion.
A mouse and fly swatters? I mean,
yeah,
you got to have them.
I mean,
Great
I have stories. Just so you know.
Of the Fly Swatter game?
No, of just Mario Paint. Fly Swatter game, that's a different story.
I went to the 1993 Summer Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago with my dad, and they had a booth set up where they had artists who would do your picture on Mario Paint, and they would record it on a VHS tape, and they gave it to you whenever they were done. This was really fun to see them, do that for my dad. And I wish I still had the tape. I'm sure it's somewhere in my parents' house because they throw away nothing. But I will probably not unearth that for another 20 years. So it's there somewhere.
Math man, that's incredible.
It is very cool.
I need to see that. That was awesome.
No, it was the best part was whenever they finished like the torso of my dad, and they clicked the gray color and the spray paint option and did a little spritz right here for the bit of his chest hair that was sticking out.
Facial reactions, expressions.
Before we transition too far away from this topic, I wanted to take a second to share an Easter egg in Super Mario Maker for the Wii U. It's a Mario Paint one. So if you guys ever pick up your Wii U again to play the Mario Maker levels that we created for the community, grab a muncher and just start shaking it, and this purple dust will come out. Do that long enough, and it'll transition you into actually the Fleischwater game, which if you complete the Fleischwater game, you unlock a special costume. It's the Angry Fly from the Mario Brothers game. It's the little black thing that opens and closes its mouth. It will only die if you throw a POW. If you played my stage, there was a fair amount of them.
You know what? I'll go ahead and go first for the PlayStation if you guys don't mind. I picked nothing. So I'm done.
Math man.
Nothing.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank. I mean, it's a fun kiddie game. It's kind of like Star Fox's step cousin. I don't know. Maybe also Infamous is great. It's like a great superhero game where you get powers and you run around. Pretty exciting.
The funny thing is,
Math man.
we talked so long on that, I forgot there was a PlayStation and an Xbox thing to choose from. But I'll go next. I have a hard time choosing between God of War and Uncharted. I've been playing God of War a lot longer, and a lot of the time my skills kind of like fall into I just want to push buttons and see things fall to my whim. So I would probably have to go with God of War for a PlayStation.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Serge. Looking at the list, I've not played any of the Infamous. Well, I played some Infamous and didn't really like it. Ratchet and Clank, it's okay. Killzone, never played it. Gran Turismo, not a big kind of like racing sim fan at all. So, I mean, God of War, I'm a big fan of action games, and that really kind of like...
For that style of game, I think God of War is like top of the charts. I don't think anybody has done action anywhere near as good as they did. The combat was just so smooth. The moves transitioned so well. And I think like the fact that there were so many people trying to copy on it and franchises changing their, complete direction to try to like become popular again based on it. Like when Castlevania went that route. And it's just like nobody has come close to that style of action in my mind.
No, I agree. And then when they reinvented it in the latest God of War, I mean, that kind of set it over the top, honestly. And yeah, I would definitely go God of War.
Alrighty, so we've got nothing, God of War, and I think Jeremy said Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ratchet and Clank because Ratchet and Clank, the last one I played was the remake that they did on the PS4, and that was really good. I chose that game. It was the same day that Star Fox Zero came out, and I chose wisely. Ratchet and Clank remake. It was wonderful. If you guys haven't played that and you have a PS4, I definitely encourage everybody to go out and play that. It was really fun. A really great 3D platformer with some shooting and some exciting and crazy weapons. So I would say Ratchet and Clank out of those. Again, probably the only one that I would maybe have some fondness for is Infamous. I did play Second Son, and that was really fun. Like I said, it's kind of like a sandbox, superhero game where you run around and getting new powers and kind of just destroying bases. So that was fun. Gran Turismo, I mean, back in the day, Gran Turismo and Gran Turismo 2 were really like jaw-dropping, like amazing. Like I can't believe I get to, take out this Supra, this like 92 Supra and like soup it up and change its gears. I mean, it's pretty exciting. But yeah, I'm not into the racing sims anymore. Never really played any kill zones or anything like that. So yeah, I would say in Uncharted and God of War, they're just not really for me, I guess. I played Uncharted 4, but again, I've moved enough boxes around for the series. But I will say Ratchet and Clank, number 4.
Guess that just leaves me. So for me, looking at this, I say, well, I look at the first one and it, God of Dante's Inferno, and I'm not interested in that. Then you have Untitled Tomb Raider game. Also not interested in that. Infamous is the superhero game. I haven't played any of that. Ratchet and Clank also haven't played that. Killzone, I don't even know what that is. Maybe it's a shooter. But Gran Turismo, I did play quite a bit as a kid, as a teenager. I had a friend who was really big into racing. So we played things like San Francisco Rush and Cruis'n USA and Gran Turismo. And so I have a pretty big fondness for that game. So of the ones listed, I would go with Gran Turismo.
Can I just mention that Untitled Tomb Raider game? Perfecto.
I don't want to laugh, but it struck me. So, I guess last, but definitely not least, Xbox. For me, it came down to Gears and Fable. And while I think Fable suits me more, because I loved Fable 2, I didn't play Fable 1, and I didn't play Fable 3, but I absolutely love Fable 2. And I feel like the other two were kind of more of the same with a little bit of difference built in. Like the ending of Fable 2 just kind of left such a huge sour taste in my mouth that I can't pick it. So I'm going to go with the game that I played the most of, which is Gears, where I beat 1, I beat 2, I beat 3, and I played a little bit of 4 and 5. So I'm not going to go racer. I'm not going to go shooter. I'm not going to go superhero or whatever State of Decay is. I'm going to go Chainsaw Lancer, and I'm going to kill some mofos by going and that makes me happy.
I'm with you again, Serge. It's between Gears of War and Fable for me as well. Fable I have a lot of fondness for. I like the whole open world RPG thing going on with it. And the British humor in it is top notch. Absolutely love that. But then Fable kind of dropped off. Like, where's Lionhead? They don't exist anymore. And Gears of War is one of those franchises that is more of a face for Xbox than Halo is now, I think. And although I'm not the biggest kind of shooter fan or multiplayer fan, Gears of War really in every way nowadays kind of outshines Halo in my eyes. I've only ever played the first Halo. It's an excellent game, but I've played every single one of the Gears of War games, short of the 5th one, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I will plan on doing it. And the other games, Forza again is another racing sim, not a big fan of that. Crackdown, never had any interest in. State of Decay, I am kind of interested in that. It's a zombie survival kind of strategy game, but yeah, I think I'm going to go Gears of War for Xbox.
Two handsome guys with gray beards have agreed a lot today. Power to the people.
All right, you're both wrong. The answer is Halo. That's what it is.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Is that right? Anybody? No, I don't know.
That's enough.
I played a lot of Gears of War and played it with friends. Is the bring your Xbox 360 over. We're gonna get the TVs we have and we're gonna do like little LAN parties, and that was awesome. So I have a lot of fondness for Gears of War, and actually, after my 4th, I think it was the 3rd Red Ring of Death console, I was like, listen, Microsoft, I've sold at least 9 of these things to my friends, like by trying to get them to like play games, together. So you need to send me one that works. And they sent me one that worked. So I still have that one to this day. But anyways, Halo, I don't know. I think I would be sad to lose the Master Chef. I mean, he's so good at cutting all those vegetables. And anyways, no, I think I would just be more likely today to play a Halo game. I think if I'm going to play a shooter, they're kind of fun and silly as well. Like those, I can't remember. On the third one, they had the, it was kind of like a horde on the Gears, but you'd have all the waves of enemies come, and then, you'd get headshots, and the enemies would scream, "Yay!" and confetti would spray out of them.
That was really, really fun, honestly.
Wasn't that fun?
It was.
Wasn't that confetti fun?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I need. I need funfetti on my birthday, and I need yay and sprays of confetti. That's what makes a turkey happy. So I'm going to keep Halo because I need to keep that going. I need to keep confetti going. That is all.
I have spoken.
That is correct.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in now if that's okay, Ryan. Looking at the Xbox list here, I haven't played a ton of Halo. I've dabbled in Gears of War. I like the concept of co-op, but it's one of those games, whenever I turn off the game, I forget that I was playing it, and I just don't go back to it. So I've played the beginning of the Gears of War Ultimate Collection 3 times, and have gotten to various lengths in the game, and then I forget that I was playing it after I shut it off, and I never go back. I've dabbled in Forza. Not a huge fan of that series. It doesn't have the same nostalgia factor as Gran Turismo did for me. I tried the original Crackdown when it was free recently to promote Crackdown 3, and it was like playing a PlayStation 2 game, and it couldn't hold my attention, so I put that down as well. I've not played State of Decay, though I do find it interesting. What I have played a fair amount of is Fable, and I love the concepts of Fable and how it was one of the starting points of the duality in games tropes, if you will, because depending on the choices that you made in the game, it would change how your character's outward appearance and how other NPCs interacted with your character. If you were evil, you'd grow horns and your eyes would turn red, and people would run from you. And you just had tons of crazy options. So I think I would go with Fable. Now, while I'm on the topic of Fable, I do want to bring up the canceled game they had, Fable Legends, that was supposed to be this asymmetrical 4-on-1 game. It sounded really cool, and I gotta say I'm pretty disappointed that we never got that. I'm holding out hope that Xbox gives the Fable series to another studio to do something amazing with. Fingers crossed. Team Fable.
All right. Well, I looked at all the series they had listed for Xbox, and the only one that I'm somewhat familiar with is the Forza series. And whenever my kids got an Xbox 360 many, many years ago, one of the games I picked up was Forza Motorsport 4. Yeah, I think it was 4 for that. And I kind of picked that up for my son, who was really into cars at the time. And I figured this would be a good game, fun game for him to play, and it's just racing cars. And just the realism was spot on, knowing that I'm driving on real-world courses. These are real cars. It was just a ton of fun. And then one of the reasons last summer that I ended up buying an Xbox One was because I tried out Forza Horizon 4, and I got hooked. Just the whole open world aspect of a racing game, and I could take my cars off-road, and they would be none the worse for wear. It was just fantastic. I loved it. And since then, I've purchased Forza Horizon 3, and they had, I think, Forza 6 was free with Games with Gold a few months ago, so I picked that up, and I don't know, I just like racing games since clearly on Nintendo consoles, we will not get a legitimate racer. I mean, we've got Mario Kart, which is a great kart racer, but in terms of realism, there aren't that many options, at least no good options. So I'm sticking with Forza.
So
That's
I do have a
unfortunate.
question. I have a question about fans of realistic racers. What is it about them that appeal to you versus something like Mario Kart?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I still like Mario Kart, and it's like, what's available, So Mario Kart definitely on Nintendo consoles, and it's not that I really like the realism. I really like more of the arcade racers. So Need for Speed is a little more my speed, because I get real cars, but I can drive them as though I'm driving a kart racer. You can do, it's a lot easier to do the drifting. I don't really care much for running from the law and all that stuff, but just having the realism is what I appreciate. So even though I'm not going to say Forza is, or at least the Forza Motorsport, like the more realistic one, like the Gran Turismo, I'm not going to say it's my favorite series. I appreciate the realism in it. But again, sometimes I do struggle with how realistic it is, because I'm trying to play it like Need for Speed, where I can do easy drifting, and it goes, oh, you want to do that? You're just going to slide into a wall. Have fun recovering. And I think Forza Horizon is a nice balance between the super realistic Forza Motorsport and the super arcadey Need for Speed. And I don't know if you guys have ever played Forza Horizon, but if you guys have Game Pass and Xbox One, I highly recommend that you play that. It's some of the most fun I've ever had playing a racing game. You have different series, where you can do like a drag strip, just do regular circuits, dirt road. My favorite one is the cross country. So you get into like a Jeep, an SUV, and you are not even really driving on roads. You are going from point A to point B, and you're driving through trees, you're jumping over hills, driving through lakes and rivers, and it's just a blast. Competing with the AI is super fun.
And they have the what is it? Battle Royale mode now, right? You can do Battle Royale in the cars.
I've done that a couple of times. Yeah, it's really interesting that you're competing with other people and you can say, I want to race you. And so if you're close to somebody, you honk your horn and you have to get to a particular point. Whoever gets there first wins, the other person's eliminated. And at the very end, once the area constricts down to a certain area, then it's, okay, you have to get to this particular spot and whoever gets there first wins. So it's really interesting. I didn't really go back and play much of it after that, but it's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to try it sometime. I really stopped playing racing games like years ago. I used to love a bunch of them, and I was never into the realistic ones or anything like that. But I did pick up one of the Forzas on a sale because it came with that. It came with the Hot Wheels DLC, I think it was.
That's Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah, so it came with that, and on top of that is just an added bonus for no apparent reason. It came with like a random Assassin's Creed game. So I picked up that combo pack for like $20 on like cdkeys.com.
Oh, nice.
So I have access to them, but I just haven't played them a whole lot. Played like a little bit, but I should probably give it more of a shot because like the Hot Wheels part sounds cool to me. And I think if I broke the Xbox out, I think Jacob might like that. So, I don't know. Eventually, we'll get to games we've been playing. But I did have one other random topic to bring up quick. And this was something proposed to me, by somebody, not part of the five of us. And I think Mike kind of knows a little bit about it, but not a whole lot. And this is Backlog Bingo. So this is something that Mike's wife brought to my attention. She came up with like a bingo card for us. So if anybody wants to scroll to the bottom of the show docs, I put it in there after we started recording. But real quick, Backlog Bingo. The game is designed to get you to think outside of your box, have fun, and give you enough freedom to add replayability and adjust compatibility to fit your lifestyle. Rule 1, only games played from the time this game starts till the time it ends counts. So essentially, Patrick has 12 games that he's already started. None of them count. Games must be completed by you. So I don't get credit when Jacob beats a game. I don't understand that at all. I feel like I should be able to cheat. Each game completed only counts as one square. So playing Super Mario Brothers does not count as a game from your childhood and as a side scroller. You cannot play the same game twice to make it count for 2 squares. And when completing games that start with a letter, so if it says this game has to start with the letter A, the word A doesn't count and the word the doesn't count. Kind of makes sense. I'll end up forwarding everybody, the rules and stuff that she had given. And like I said, the cards there at the bottom. So just to go through some of it, a game that starts with a G, a game officially ranked in the top 10. We'd have to discuss how that works. There's like a gamer's choice, meaning whatever we want to play, game with a number in the title, an RPG, a strategy game, a game recommended by a friend, game released within the last 3 years, a side scroller, a game from your backlog. Aren't they all? I don't know. A popular game you've never played, a beat 'em up game. That one I believe is just on there for Trashturkey. So I just thought, like, when she brought it up, I thought this was kind of a cool idea. My thinking is, see how far we can go for like the rest of the year. I'm obviously not going to be in a rush to complete a bingo or black the card out because, let's face it, Patrick would probably win that one. He plays more than all of us combined, but it was just kind of cool. So like, I was like, this is kind of in the same vein of like me doing the backlog challenge with games that start with certain letters, where it's just like, something released in the last 3 years. And I can look at that and like immediately my mind goes to a couple games that came out in like, late 2017 or 2018 that I either bought and wanted to get to and just haven't. So I just thought that would be kind of cool and something we could discuss as like time goes on, like every episode, like, hey, where are you guys at on Backlog Bingo? And Patrick could be like, well, I blacked it out twice. My wife also blacked it out once. No, I'm joking. I just love picking on you, Patrick. But I thought that would be kind of cool. And it's, something that we can put out there to some of the backloggers who want to kind of play along. I'm sure, like Egg Shen would enjoy this. Hungry Pup would enjoy this. It's something unique. And when she brought it up to me, she said that whoever wins, she would like whoever finished it first, she would get like a little prize to us. So I thought I'd bring it up to you guys. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. It's super fun.
Okay, so Backlog Bingo was really the last thing I had to bring up, but I thought it was a really cool idea. And, she thought that I was getting an unfair advantage by her sending the bingo card to me. But I assured her that I wouldn't look at it till we started this conversation. So I literally opened the email while we were talking, uploaded the image like right before we started talking. So it's a cool idea. I think it'll be a lot of fun and just like an extra little dynamic to the show. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. But does anybody else have any topics before hour number 2 starts and we get to what have you been playing?
I had one, if you guys are up for it. The topic I had in mind, when it comes to collecting games for your backlog and subsequently completing them, where do you stand between playing on original hardware versus playing a more modernized compilation version of a game? For example, I was playing through Mega Man X and X2 recently on Xbox One through the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. And I was just wondering where you guys stood on playing the games, specifically retro games, on original hardware versus modern.
I honestly, I would love to be able to have the ability to hook up all of my old systems to like an old CRT and play through stuff that way. I have a CRT over at my parents' house, but I just don't have any place to put it right now. So even if I brought it over, like being able to hook it up and hook up like my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo, my Wii, my Dreamcast, it's not feasible for me. Now, there are a lot of games in my theoretical backlog that I have for those systems that are never going to be ported, that I'm not going to have any other options unless I buy one of those weird handheld consoles like that can play a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo game. And that is something that I look at every couple of months. I go on Amazon or I go to these different sites and they have like the Super Retro Geek Boy or whatever they're called. And it's like, I want to, because I want to take one of those to work and I want to be playing like Super Mario Brothers 3 on the original cartridge on a handheld system that takes like AA batteries and dies within 30 minutes. But I have a lot of those games. Like I have Beavis and Butthead. I think I have a copy of Ren and Stimpy somewhere. And it's these games I'm never going to get an opportunity to play somewhere else. But as for the ones that are getting ported, like all the Mega Mans, the Castlevanias and stuff like that, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of a difference. I'm all about gaming as a hobby and gaming for fun, not gaming for any particular type of purpose. Yes, purpose. I love Castlevania. I just don't think I would ever actually be able to beat it on the original NES again. I went through and I beat it as a download on my DS or my 3DS. And the only way I could do it was I had to abuse the save states because it just wasn't happening. Same thing with Double Dragon and stuff like that. It's just I don't have the time, nor do I have those old motor skills to play those 45-minute games anymore. You die too often and then you're stuck back at the beginning. I have to abuse the save states. I'm all for modern hardware.
For me, I'm kind of a few minds on the whole subject. As a collector, I like having the original hardware. I like having the original software. And I like the idea of being able to grab a cartridge, put it in my Super Nintendo, and be able to play it with the original controller that I had. When it comes to consoles that I've never owned before or have no nostalgia for, I like the idea of holding something for the first time as an adult. Like, for example, the Sega Saturn, which I picked up, fairly recently. I've never seen one in my life before until I found it recently. And it was cool being able to play a game on that. But, honestly, when it comes to completing games on my backlog, original hardware is kind of overrated. It's a pain in the neck to get working on modern technology, modern TVs and stuff. And I've went out of my way to make it possible on many of the consoles that I own. I've modded many of them so that I could have them display on modern televisions. I've bought upscalers, and I've even bought clone consoles that I could apply, translation patches to games, just so that I could capture things. And that's the whole other perspective, is that I've done a lot of that so that I could capture them for the blog or for videos or things like that, so I could present them to people online. Otherwise, I could care less if I played on original hardware or not, though I still like having that genuine article. The other caveat is if I have Mega Man 2 and I have the Mega Man Legacy Collection with Mega Man 2 on it, I'm going to consider those two things separate on my backlog. I'll want to complete the original as well as the re-release. But when it comes to me, I'll pick the one that's more convenient. I'm not going to go up into my game room, bring down my NES, hook it up to my TV, put in the cartridge, and hope to God that it's going to work. I'm just going to boot up my Xbox and play it on there.
Yeah, I'm with you, Patrick. It doesn't really matter where I'm playing it. The only issue that I've ever run into is input lag. I think it was the Sonic's Ultimate Sega Genesis Collection on the Xbox 360, and I tried playing some of the games, and I just felt like it's just not that responsive. And I remember playing the Genesis and a few of the games at my best friend's house when I was growing up. It didn't seem to play like that. It seemed to play a lot more smoothly. And I was thinking, were the Genesis games just that inferior to the Super Nintendo? The answer is yes, but also I think it was the input lag that was causing some of the issues. And so that's just my biggest concern when it comes to playing, re-releases.
Well, shame on you all. Unless you have a PVM and the original console and the original cartridge, you are not a retro gamer. or maybe the Framemeister. Okay, I need you to spend about $400 on a Framemeister, hook it up to your modern TV, and then maybe I can consider you a retro gamer. I think what I've realized, there was a point in my, I guess not too many years ago, before the Retron 5 came out, and I thought, I really want to start collecting some old cartridges and kind of finding some things. And I did that. And then I got the Retron 5 in, and it was not very good. And I kind of felt like, it just was a big disappointment to me. I enjoyed finding this stuff, but really there wasn't a good way for me to play it. And I kind of realized about just backlogging is that I have so many games now that I need to play. And even the games in the past, if they're really, I don't know, they're really something I want to play, maybe at some point I'll pick up. Or maybe I'll just need to wait for a remake, because everything is being remade. But that's the way I want to play. I want to play with save states. I want to play with decent visuals, kind of like what you're saying. Like, I played, and I didn't mind it as much because I didn't play it originally, but I would have liked to play Guardian Heroes. They came out with a remake on the Xbox 360, and they kind of updated the graphics and kind of smoothed it all over. But I love pixel graphics, and that was like, giant sprites, and it was supposed to be amazing. And I never got to experience that. I think that's something that maybe in the future, because what it seems like 2005, 2007, they weren't really doing a good job of keeping the original game the way it was. They had like the Mega Man collection. I think it was famously on the GameCube, where like the jump and the shoot were reversed and you couldn't change it, right? Something like that. So like they're doing a much better job with people like Digital Eclipse and M2 and all the people that are like making the old games exactly like they were, with those added features like save states and perfect visuals and all that stuff. And then they add do you want to add scan lines? Do you like that stuff? Do you like, do you want this stuff kind of smoothed out? Do you like that? And so that's cool. I think companies now are saying, okay, the retro games are not, and collections are not just like a cash grab. They're more of a collection and something that is kind of, they know that the mob will be after them if they do a bad job with it. So yes, I love collections of video games re-released, and I just think that they're awesome. So yeah, I'm definitely new school. Give me the new version of a game, and I'd love to play it.
Well, to piggyback off of what you're saying, Jeremy, being able to remap your buttons is, I think, a critical feature that a lot of these retro re-releases don't have. But another thing, and I know they did this for the Sega Ages Phantasy Star, had settings in there where you could earn experience at a faster rate or earn more money, especially for some of those classic RPGs where you spend so much of your time grinding. And I know there are certain personalities out there on Twitter and other social media that will say, if you're doing it with those kind of elements, then you didn't really beat the game. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm not trying to get a merit badge on my sash from Video Game Boy Scouts. I'm just wanting to enjoy the game and experience the visuals and the story and have a good time. It's like when I play certain games, if there's an easy setting, you know what? Let me do the easy setting. It's like, but you're going to beat everybody so easily. I'm like, yes, because I want to enjoy it. I want to be OP'd, and I want to destroy the computer and have fun. If I want a challenge, if I want to really sit there and think, then I can up the difficulty. I like to at least have the option. And I understand how they had to do things back in the day because, you're spending $50 on a game. And Grrouchie, you mentioned this, a game that takes 45 minutes to beat in Castlevania. Well, they have to ramp up the difficulty somehow so that you feel like you're getting your money's worth. At least that's the way it used to be. Nowadays, when you have so many different options and a lot less time, it's nice to be able to alter the settings to do and play the way you want to.
So I'll start then with what I have been playing. And last month we talked about how I was playing a lot of cell phone games, and I was slightly addicted to them. And I became very burnt out, and I deleted them. I tried to pick up Fire Emblem, got a little bit into it. Like, it just wasn't hitting me, and I couldn't find anything I was in the mood to play. So, I went like a week or two with just not playing anything, kind of like playing with the kids a little bit or whatnot. And then I was going through something, and I saw my Vita sitting there. And I was like, I wonder if the battery has been drained yet. and I turned it on, and it still worked. For anybody that doesn't know, the Vita must have the same battery that's in the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, because that thing will last like 6 years before the battery is fully drained. You never even have to charge it. Like if it like miraculously, like hope and happiness recharge its batteries when nobody's looking. I started scrolling through my games and I was like, oh, you know, I could play one of the portable God of Wars. I could do this. And then I got to the bottom where I put all my this is what you're playing games on the Vita, because that's the smart way to do it. You put it at the bottom where you never see it. That's how a backlog forms. And I got down there and I was like, oh, Danganronpa 2. I remember when we were talking about Murder Bears with Jeremy. Yeah. So I started, you know, I fired it up a little bit and I was like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this again? And I started playing a little bit and then I got like back into the swing of the controls and everything. And then I started like talking to some of the characters and wandering to the random places on the islands. Next thing you know, I was like resubmerged back into it. I did a brief tutorial going through like the menus. It's like, okay, I remember how that person died. I remember who did the murder. Out of nowhere, I was back into it. Now, the last time I played it was like July 2018. Everybody has gone. It had been a while. Started playing it. I was about 13 hours into it at the time. I had gone through the first 2 trials. So right now I'm at about 26 or so hours. So I've put another 13 hours into it over the last couple of weeks. Put a little time in, you know, at lunch, at work. If I get to work early, I'll put a little bit of time into it. And it's nice because you can just play for a few minutes, have a couple of conversations. You know, the game's broken into 2 different parts. You've got your everyday life where you talk to people, you do stuff. You try to figure out where all the doom and gloom's coming from. You basically say, we're never going to kill anybody again. And then somebody dies and you go into like this phase where you have to investigate it. And it's all just, you know, graphic novel, point and click, you know, type of a game. You run around, you talk to people. There's nothing overly complex about it. And then you get to your trials. And your trials are, I'm going to assume, very Ace Attorney-like, where you come up with different theories. They have a bunch of mini games. When people say stuff, you have to remember things that happened during the investigation, things that people talk to you about. And in these mini games, you use like those things to like disprove what other people are saying. So if people are like, oh, that hammer laying there, that's obviously the murder weapon. You have to like, you know, get into your menus and pick like, when we investigated, that hammer was like very clean, like it had never been used before. So you counter the argument with the hammer must be the murder weapon. And then you go into this like basically scene where people are talking back and forth. Now there's 2 more chapters to go. So I assume one more person's going to die. And then they're going to come up with this huge plot twist. And then a bunch of really, really weird things are going to happen. Then there's going to be a not very happy ending. And then that's going to lead into Ultra Despair Girls, and then after that I'll go to Danganronpa 3. I love the visual novels. I don't play enough of them.
I've always liked the idea of Danganronpa, and I really want to get into it myself. So I may have to at some point. My only problem with visual novels is that I treat them like I treat books. I play them only in bed before I go to sleep, and I usually get like 2 pages in, and the thing hits me in the face, and then I play it the next night.
And speaking of which, I actually read a book today. I mean, it was small. It was only like 130 pages. But I read it, the whole thing, start to finish.
Wow.
What have you guys been playing?
I would like to read more. But like visual novels, I read them when I'm in bed. I read 2 pages.
I see where this is going.
It takes me like 3 months to get through a book. And then I just get discouraged.
Just have a goal of 4 books a year.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually got for Valentine's Day, my wife got me now I've forgotten the publisher, I guess. Is it Boss Battle Books, maybe? She got me the Katamari Damacy book, so hopefully get to read that and not fall asleep.
That sounds cool. So is it an art book, or is it like a history of the series, or?
It's like a history of the series. It might be boss fight books, but they have a lot of different topics. The other one I have on my Amazon wish list is NBA Jam. So I know that those were the 2 that I wanted, but they have, you know, I'm not the I'm not the RPG guy, but I know they have ones on, Final Fantasy and other topics like that. I can't remember. I think the Final Fantasy one was written by Chris Kohler. So as far as, I guess since I'm speaking, I'll go as far as what I've been playing real quick. So I did complete Grumon 3D, A Monstrous Adventure. Super cutesy, pretty much stayed that way the whole way through, defeated the final boss and rolled credits. And then it was like, hey, play a little bit more and you might get the true ending. And I was like, nah, I'm fine. So, I mean, it was good, but, it has like 4 different difficulty levels. It wants you to go back and, find everything. And, I'm happy to have completed the game and got it off the backlog. And then in our conversation, Patrick was asking about the flip grip. So I was trying to play a couple games using the flip grip to kind of test it out. Because like I said, I haven't really... I kind of got nervous when I first put it in and I realized, hey, this is like mashing down my volume button. And I was a little like, I don't know about this. And so I just kind of set it aside. What I didn't realize is that there actually is a cutout for the volume rocker. So for some weird reason, it does mash it down initially. But if you look inside of it, there's actually a small rectangular cutout. I assume once it gets all the way down into the flip grip, it does not actually put pressure on those. Sliding it in as does. So I knew that there's 2 games that I have that are flip grip compatible. I played some SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, and I played some Namco Museum Arcade Pack. I will say the flip grip is good. I think, Patrick, for you playing vertical shooters, and if you want to play in handheld, it would be awesome. I did notice that the Namco Museum stuff, it didn't fill the screen like I thought it was going to. It wasn't as, you didn't gain that much screen, but I think you gain enough that playing in handheld, it's definitely worth the $12, which, is what it would cost. So,
yeah, recently I've been playing the Psycho Shooting Stars collection. They have a lot of vertical shooters in them. A couple times, I typically don't like playing shooters in handheld mode because I like using my Pro controller. On the off chance that I was using it in portable mode, I actually took out the Switch to see what the vertical orientation would be like. And you see that, yeah, the older games, they don't quite fill the entire 16:9 screen. It does fill it enough that the sprites and everything are a little bigger and you can see everything a little better. And I'm thinking that I would like to try to get a flip grip, and for $12, I mean, you can't, right?
No.
What I have been playing, but played some of the Gardens Between. By some of, I mean the whole thing. It was one of those games where you start it and then you blink and then it's over. Very, very short, but it was a fun puzzle game. Revolves around like a time manipulation mechanic, move time forward and backwards. I won't say too much more about it though because it's such a short game. I think if you enjoy puzzle games, you should definitely check it out. Aside from that, I played through a game called We Were Here with Patrick. That was a good time. And in that game, there's 2 roles that you can play. Either you can be the adventurer, which is what Patrick played as, where he's exploring this castle that you're lost in, or you can be the librarian, which is what I played as. And as the librarian, you're essentially confined to this one small area, and your job is to figure out the clues and help hint your partner, the adventurer, through the puzzles. Once again, this is a really short game, but it was a good time, and I'm looking forward to when we have the chance to go back and play through it again. It is co-op only and online co-op only, which is a little restrictive, but it's a game that if you have had Xbox Gold and downloaded all of your games, it's one that you should have in your backlog. Aside from that, I did the Mega Man X and X2 games, and then I've just been working on Valkyria Chronicles, trying to finish up what was left of it. I also played through Altered Beast, which is like 45-minute run on the arcade version on Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection for the 360 that Ryan was talking about. You can unlock that version if you play the regular version. And the good thing about it is, like most arcade ports, is that no matter how many times you die, you can just keep coming back. And I just thought it would be fun to count the number of quarters I would have had to put in to finish the game. That number was 8, which I think is a pretty low number, all things considered. It's an okay game, but it very much was designed to eat your quarters.
Yeah.
Oh, not even close. Not even close. And that's what I've been playing this month.
Yeah, that We Were Here was really fun. And as someone who played The Adventurer, so you have a radio, and the only way you can communicate between each other is to raise your radio up, kind of like you're holding the button, and then you talk into your mic, and then you can talk together and kind of give each other hints as to what you're seeing in your current situation. And then the librarian basically has clues on their end that they have to relay to the adventurer so that they can solve the puzzle to move on to the next room. Sometimes it was difficult because it's difficult to kind of explain what it is that you're seeing and what they have to tell you to do. The one that I recall we had one of the hardest times with was the chessboard. What was it? The theater, where we had to set up the scenes in order to escape before we died. And just trying to explain like what I was seeing and what what information Mike needed to relay to me so that I could solve the puzzle for both of us. But it was a really cool experience, and like he said, I can't wait to go back and trying to switch roles. And not only that, but they released a sequel that I think would be really fun to play as well.
I actually did a little bit of research, and there's 2 sequels.
That should be fun. And they're relatively cheap if you didn't get them on Games with Gold. I think the first one's only $5, and then the second one was $10. So it's not too big of an investment. But like you were saying, too, because it's online co-op only, that is a bit restrictive.
What's next on the docket, guys?
What have you been playing?
Well, it's going to come as no surprise to most of you that I've been playing Stardew Valley. I was going through my Nintendo Online app to see what I've been playing just on the Switch, and every single day it says Stardew Valley. Every entry was Stardew Valley, Stardew Valley. You exceeded your time limit, Stardew Valley. The only exception was when I played a little bit of Rayman Legends a couple of days ago when I was streaming. I played through the first world on that. If you guys haven't played Rayman Legends, it's just a fantastic platformer, catchy music, gorgeous graphics. The visuals are stunning. And one of my favorite things to do in that game are the daily and weekly challenges that they have. Some of them there are some extreme challenges that you have to be a certain level in order to unlock, but the challenges are basically see how far you can go before you die or race to the end, and so it's a timed event. The first time I played the first time I played Rayman Legends was on the Xbox 360. Every day I would log in just to see what the new challenge was. It's just so addicting. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of like the addiction we talked about before. Just one more go. You know what? I know where I die this time. I'm going to avoid it next time, and I'm going to get that gold trophy. The platinum trophy was always kind of out of reach for me, but I could at least always get the silver, maybe even the gold. And it was just kind of fun to do that. You start to get the memorization of the buttons and the jumps and all the stuff. So it was kind of fun to go back and play that again. And again, with going back to Stardew Valley, I have started to woo some of the single ladies that are in the town. I know it sounds kind of weird because I am married, but one of the people that I am trying to give the appropriate gifts to and trying to up our friendship is someone who I think is a lot like my wife. She teaches a couple of the local kids, and she likes to hang out in the library, and that's my wife. And the other one is this purple-haired girl who I was like, just for fun. And I guess I upped our friendship level high enough that she said, hey, I'm really struggling with this particular video game. Can you come help me? And I said, sure. So it's like this in-game video game.
Don't do it, Math Man.
Huh?
It's a trick.
No. Well, she needed help getting through a level, so I did. I don't know if it was frustrating, but it's kind of weird. She's at the end of it, after I helped her, she goes, boy, you sure know your way around a joystick, don't you, Math Man? And I don't know if that kind of pushes it to a T rating. It seemed a little bit awkward, but I was like, whatever. Another game that I tried to go back into was Sid Meier's Civilization 5. I know I've mentioned that on here before, one of those just one more turn kind of games. Boy, it sucked me in again. I don't even know what civilization I was playing as. And I just like, I just kind of keep going one more turn. I feel like I can't get enough of that game. And I'm tempted to pick up Civilization 6. I already have it on the PC, but it's on sale right now for $15. And I thought, well, I mean, it's $15. I mean, it's not too bad. It's 75% off. Anyway, I think that's about it for what I've been playing. I did play The Gardens Between, just like you were mentioning, Mike. I did that when I was quarantined to my office with the flu. I figured, well, let me turn on the Xbox and see what I've got there. All those games on Game Pass. And I downloaded Gardens Between a long time ago. And yeah, like you said, Mike, it's like a single playthrough. I just sat down and went through all the puzzle levels. It was neat how you got this weird little time mechanic as you control, I guess they control the characters, because you really just have going forward and going backwards. And each of them has, you just press the A button in order to interact. A boy who can interact with certain bells, and then there's a female character who has a lantern and carries a light around. And so sometimes you have to watch out because certain, I guess, elements in the level will extinguish the light, and you have to be able to get to the end of that particular level with the light in the lantern in order to activate a switch to move on to the next one. So some interesting environmental type puzzles working with the time mechanic. But you just go forwards and backwards in time, either using the shoulder buttons or the control stick. And so it's just kind of weird to just press to the right and they go forward, press to the left, and they back up. And I kind of cheated a little bit to see how do I get the 1,000-point gamer score. It's really easy 1,000 points to get, just a couple hours. I recommend it. I don't know how much money I would spend on that, but it is available through Games Pass. So I definitely would check that out.
Yeah, you can't beat all the games available on Game Pass. It's so good for just getting in there and trying something. And, when you find a gem like that, it's great. It really is great.
Yeah, I mean, I did try to play a little bit of Final Fantasy 15 because that was on there. But I don't even know if it's finished downloading, and I started that a couple of weeks ago. So I may just have to delete that one. That's a pretty big download. And
all right, then I guess it's me. Well,
it's a me, Patrick.
It's a me, Patrick. Oh, it doesn't really work. I know.
I think it works.
February for me was kind of like just dabbling here and there. I played a bunch of different games, a lot of different short games, but really the ones that stuck with me, first off, is one that I was playing through January and finished around the beginning of February, which was Death Stranding. Who knew? Because it was it was my Smash Bros. Entry, but it was on my brain. What was interesting about Death Stranding, and really what drew me toward it, was that it was the first game from Kojima Productions since they broke away from Konami. And being a big fan of what Hideo Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid and all the other games that he's touched over the years, like Zone of the Enders, or even his games that didn't make it over to the West, like Police Knots, and so on. They just always fascinated me, the way that he tells stories and the bizarre things that he comes up with. And Death Stranding is really no different. And if that's the type of game that you like his quirky, wacky, 20-minute cutscenes, then I think you're going to like this game. But it's not the type of game that I could really recommend to everybody. So I will say that it's the type of game that I would say that everybody should experience. Whether or not you come in at $5 or $20, it depends on your level of Kojima. Like there's a scale, how much you like Kojima and his bizarre works. But anyway, Death Stranding is kind of taking place in a post-apocalyptic America where this devastating event called the Death Stranding kind of wiped out a lot of civilization. It was an event that merged like the undead realm with the living realm. And now these entities called BTs are popping up around the world, and they're called beached things. They're kind of the personification of a person's ka, or their spirit. And every time someone dies, now that the Death Stranding has happened, they go into their beach, which is kind of like their purgatory, and they're trapped there. And then they'll manifest in the real world, and they can hurt people and so on and so forth. It's a whole big thing. And to go into it, might melt your brain, but it's very interesting. And the main goal of Death Stranding is you, Sam Porter Bridges, are trying to connect all of America on this chiral network, which is kind of like a stand-in for the internet, only it's powered by this spiritual energy from the beach called chiralium. Sam is kind of like a glorified postman. He's the new USPS. He works for Bridges. That's why his last name is Bridges. His middle name is Porter because he's a porter, and his name is Sam because, I don't know, that's what he was born with. And he's played by Norman Reedus, which, that's the draw of the game for me right there. He was in Walking Dead, Boondock Saints. Honestly, it was Kojima. I'm not going to. But that whole concept just kind of fascinated me. And I know that a lot of people complained about that it's like Walking Simulator 2019 or whatever. But it is really so much more than that. I mean, you do deliver these packages from distribution center to distribution center. But really, it's no different than any other open world game. And doing fetch quests and things like that. Only you're more manually doing these things. So you do pile these packages on your back, and they can be ridiculously high and throw you off balance. And you literally do have to use the shoulder buttons to balance yourself when you're running. The cool thing about the game is that it kind of drip feeds you these upgrades, things that will make carrying things easier, that'll make you be able to balance more easily, that you'll be able to traverse unstable and dangerous terrains more easily. And because they do that, you kind of start appreciating these upgrades. Like, I remember the first time I got a car in that game. I'm like, wow, I don't have to worry about how much stuff is piled on my back anymore. I can go these long distances in short amount of time without having to worry about falling over into a river and my dead mother floating off into the distance on me. And yes, that did happen. It's Kojima, right? It's just what he does. He straps dead bodies to your back, and they float down rivers if you fall into them.
You've gotta take things from A to B, right? It can be a dead body. It can be a loaf of bread, right?
Right. And it's not only dead bodies; it's living people too, wrapped up in the same things. And all you see is their face. It's a ridiculous game, and that's why I like it so much. I mean, it is divisive. It literally takes a good 8-9 hours to really get into the groove of the game because they don't give you anything in the beginning. Like, you're literally traversing these large expanses on foot. Like I said, you're falling down cliffs. You're getting attacked by these BTs. It's a pain in the butt. But once you start getting those upgrades and the story starts flowing, and you start seeing these bizarre and interesting characters, and you start unraveling what the beach is and what it means to the people in this world, and it really is an emotional game too. I really enjoyed it, and I wish it got a better rap than it really does, but I understand why people fall off because it does take a little bit of patience for it to get good, and I know that not a lot of people have the time to do that. And that's too bad. That really is too bad.
I think that this is the first time I've heard someone actually describe the game in a way that actually makes me kind of want to play it. I do like the craziness. Maybe they'll come out with a patch, when I get around to playing it in like PS6 or something where it's like, do you want to skip to where you can walk like a normal person and not like a toddler or something? I don't know what, like you have the ability to walk normally. But yeah, I mean, 8 hours, 9 hours, like I put 14 into that 3DS game, and that was like a struggle for me to like the idea of just the wackiness that can ensue. It's like serious, but also like bizarre. Like, I think that's kind of cool. And I've heard that like the music is really good, and then like the vistas, if you will, maybe really kind of cool. Kind of like the moment in, what is that game? The cowboy game, Red Dead, the original, like where you go into Mexico and you have like the music swell and like the cool vista, like that's kind of neat, right? I'd like to experience that kind of stuff, but the hours kind of make me a little shy.
And honestly, I mean, it's not a terribly long game. I think when we ended up finishing it, we were just shy of 50 hours. So, I mean, I guess it takes about a fifth of the game for the game to really get going. There's a lot to draw you in the beginning as well. The only problem is that you have to realize that maybe you shouldn't get stuck trying to get all these side quests, because the game gets good once you get over that hill and you cross the river. You know what I mean? So instead of dwelling in this opening area, that it's better to forget about all these small things, jump into the new area. Chapter 3 is where it gets good, basically. Like, force your way through Chapter 1 and 2 as fast as you can, because Chapter 3 is where it really gets good. And like I said, 1 and 2 have a lot of interesting story beats that'll keep you hooked. So the gameplay really gets good once you're over that hill. And
Patrick, how would you describe the difficulty curve in this game? Because it sounds like it's harder at the beginning and easier at the end. Is that the way it is, or am I interpreting that incorrectly?
I would say that the difficulty is different throughout the game. So in the beginning of the game, you're really fighting the terrain, and you're fighting Sam's ability on his own. As you get further into the game and as you get better equipment to make your traversal easier, then you're more dealing with outside factors like the BT or the mules, which are kind of the antagonist. They call it the Porter syndrome, where they have some sort of like addiction to collecting these packages that the porters are trying to transport, and they'll steal them and hoard them themselves. So they're kind of like a faction of enemies that will own territories throughout the land that you have to cross, and they'll try to steal your packages from you. So as you get further into the game, you'll get ones that initially will just try to stun you and steal your packages, and eventually they'll get lethal weapons. They'll try to kill you, and you'll start encountering bigger and harder BTs and more of the little ones. And then you'll start getting boss fights with the main antagonist and so on and so forth. And that's really when it starts rolling up and getting better and better. I think the hardest thing to do in that game to keep that momentum going is to focus on the story instead of always trying to focus on getting those deliveries, because doing the deliveries will give you better upgrades, but knowing which upgrades are the most useful at what time also really helps. So I think like a second playthrough would probably be smoother than your first playthrough, but getting through the first playthrough is probably the hardest part of the game. It's a balancing act, really, and that's why I say that I wish it was easier to recommend. Other than that, I also played PT, which, Serge, you mentioned earlier. I have a little bit of a story about how I acquired it and how I played it. PT is the playable trailer Konami released, I don't even know when, near the beginning of this generation. And it was kind of like a teaser for, or it was playable teaser, sorry. It was kind of a teaser for the up-and-coming and now defunct Silent Hills, and which was headed by Kojima Productions. It was co-directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it was kind of this whole big thing. Had Norman Reedus as the main character, and you'll see a lot of parallels to what you find in Death Stranding, because, you know, apparently Kojima really, really, really wanted Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro in something. But anyway, at some point, because the game was canceled, Konami took it off of PSN, and you could no longer download it. But if you had the license, which I did because when they announced the game, and this was before I even had a PS4, I claimed it on my PSN account online. So I had a license for the game. Unfortunately, you still couldn't download it. So there was like a roundabout way to get the checksum file for the downloaded or the application, and then you could load it onto a USB, and it's kind of like side loading on Android or whatever, so that you could, you know, kind of force a download of the game. I don't remember all the steps. This was like a couple of years ago that I did it. But luckily it still ran today, or I should say this week. And so I decided to play it. Since I recently finished Death Stranding, I really wanted to see what PT was all about, because I heard so much about it. It was so good, and it makes me so sad that Silent Hills isn't going to be a thing. Though I do hear rumors that Kojima might be working on a Silent Hill game with Konami, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it. Anyway, PT is it's really simple in concept. It's like a survival horror adventure game. It's more of an adventure game, really, with horror elements, where you're kind of walking through and looping through this L-shaped hallway in a apartment building or maybe it's just a house. There's like one hallway in a house. And as you loop through this, it gets progressively more disturbing, and the story unravels more and more, and you're presented with more and more complex puzzles to solve. All the while you have to deal with, I think the ghost's name is Lisa, which is kind of the murdered wife of the family that owned this apartment or house. It's interesting because for such a short and simple game in concept, it's so engaging, and the atmosphere is like literally just, I've never played a game that I was middle of the day sitting in front of my TV with my wife next to me and on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what's going on. And, as a fan of horror, I love that feeling of when you turn around and the ghost is right in front of your face and you literally jump out of your seat. They did such a good job. My only real problem with the game is that the puzzles could be so convoluted, and you really had to think outside the box, which is a good thing as well, except in the final puzzle, which was you trying to fit all of these random facts that you've been presented throughout the game in various languages, in obscure patterns, and so on and so forth, and trying to put that all together into a solution that no one even knows officially what it is. So I was on the internet pulling down possible solutions for this final puzzle, and there's 2 or 3 methods that people say work. And I tried one of them and it didn't work, and then I tried the second, and it wasn't until the 3rd or 4th try I was able to get the thing to work. I don't know if it's just too obscure or the steps are too precise or something, but it was fascinating, and that's why I really wanted to play the game to kind of experience that firsthand, and I'm glad I was able to. I'm glad I was able to subvert Konami and they're ripping the game down from PSN so that I could play it. very
I
cool.
remember I had it on my original PlayStation 4, went through, played everything except for I didn't get the ending of it, but then the hard drive crashed and it was lost to me. But it was still it was very engaging and it was very interesting for what it was. I get why people hate the fact that the game got canceled and nothing came of it, because what they showed you just in that teaser had such potential.
Oh yeah. And I mean, in true Silent Hill fashion, the puzzles were difficult but not impossible, except for the last one. But I think that was because Kojima really, really, really wanted people to struggle to get that reveal at the end. I would hope that the final game wouldn't have something like that. I know that Kojima, mixed with someone like Guillermo del Toro in direction, could truly make a game that would, like I said, melt your brain or scare you half to death. You'd be convulsing on the floor or something after you finish it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And if the rumors are true that Konami is making more Silent Hills and Kojima may be heading one of them, I mean, that's, music to my ears.
I was going to say, I know I had to run off there, but did everybody get to what they were playing?
This is what happens. We are currently at 2 hours and 44 minutes and 54 seconds.
Hummer, who asks, anyone planning on remaking their Super Mario Maker levels on Super Mario Maker 2? So those of us who don't have Super Mario Maker can try out your levels. Except for
no.
this night.
I didn't make a level, and the answer is no. Sorry.
This was the worst run community event in the history of podcasting.
But could you expect anything more exciting than an awesome Mario Maker 1 contest? We're going to get everybody together, and then it just, it was exciting though. I mean, we got people. Really fun. I mean, it was fun. Levels. Maybe Mike, are you gonna do some recreation?
He specifically told me not to answer the question, so
okay. Then.
But on the down low, yes, I was gonna do it. Maybe now I won't.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was thinking about recreating mine in Mario Maker 2 as well. Mostly because I want to see those notifications. I'm never on my Wii U.
Next question that I copied here was from Paula, and I only took her real question, not all the other silly ones she asked. But real question, what attracted y'all to be Backlog Busters, and what was your first thoughts when Serge asked you to join? Such as, what was the spark of inspiration to start the Backlog Busters? For me, when he asked me to join, I was actually kind of on the fence about it. I wasn't sure that I would be a good candidate. I wasn't sure that I could make it work. I didn't think I had anything to add to the conversation, and I'd just been a listener prior to that. Was sitting there one night and looking at it and going, and I can't think of a better couple of guys to help out than Serge and Jeremy, so I decided to join after a lot of debating and self-reflection and deciding that regardless of whether or not I was a worthwhile addition to the cast, I'd try it anyway. And if it didn't work and Serge started to hate me for making Mario Maker levels, then he could kick me out and it'd be okay.
To sum that up, he was like, he kept asking me, and I was like, this guy needs a friend. I'll do it.
I want to say, Mike, I think you add a lot to the show. I think you're very, the knowledge that you have about the games you play and the way that you can kind of come across with that information is truly is great. Like, I can't do that. See, I can't even pay you a compliment without stumbling and saying So, but I'm very happy to have you, and I think it's awesome. So, thank you for being here, and thank you for adding to the show, and everybody. Patrick, Mathman, you guys are great. I don't know. I just think it's awesome. You guys are just really special in your own way. That it's just great. Glad to have everybody here.
Thank you.
It is great. It is great.
Why did you join
am I
us?
here?
Why did you join this?
Why am I here? Well, I'm here because Serge asked me. The real answer is that I love podcasting. I love podcasts. I love listening to them, and I always kind of wanted to contribute. I tried my own in the beginning, and it's really, 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 really difficult to talk to yourself for extended periods of time.
Especially the way you did it. Because you had this whole process where you're like, okay, I'm going to take 2 weeks to write the script and perfect it. Then I'm going to go and get into it. And and I loved what you had come out with, and I enjoyed them, and I listened to all of them.
Loved.
But I honestly hear doing this and listening to the conversation you had with Mike on the retro episode and everything. I feel like some of the unscriptedness kind of helps your personality come out of it.
Yeah, and I like talking, kind of like we're just sitting around a table, talking shop or whatever. And it's fun I do like to do my other things. I like to write, I like to make the videos and everything, but being able to kind of sum everything up in one spot and talk to people and have them respond, I just love that idea. And I'm just grateful that you guys asked me to join, because I was looking for an opportunity to do that without having to worry about the hosting and everything. That's
we are also glad to have you, Patrick. When we had you on as a guest, I was like, we have to have Patrick Moore, and we finally got Patrick Moore. So thank you for being here. I do think you your scripted stuff. It's flawless, and it's just awesome to listen to. And I think that even you just spitballing is great in very 2 hours and 51 minutes. I cannot speak, but you can, Patrick, and that's why I'm
almost done, Jeremy. We're almost done.
I know.
Don't worry. All that scripted stuff do you hear? There's a lot of stutters. Mike will know from our retro episode. I stumbled on that stuff a lot in the beginning. And I do all the time. But in a podcast setting where it's more conversational, it's so much easier to express yourself in the way that you want. Although I may not say everything that I want to say, I feel like it feels more natural. And like I said, it lets me get everything I want to get off my chest. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you guys.
As for me, the question of why am I here? I mean, I ask myself that every day whenever I'm teaching. Why am I here? No, I was thrilled whenever grrouchie reached out, because I've been thinking about, like, I guess back in the day, I wanted to do something with podcasts. I wanted to interact more with the people that I'm listening to. I just didn't know how that could happen. So I think there were a couple of times I may have submitted something. I know I submitted something to something that you had, Patrick, at one time. And so it was just, it was a no-brainer. I was, I guess, humbled that you would have thought of me to be part of the reboot of the Backlog Busters. Because I got to say, it was very sad not to see that monthly download for you and Jeremy. I was always looking forward to that. And I would always save that and turn my podcast speed from 1.4 down to normal 1 speed so I could just listen and really enjoy and savor. So I'm just glad to be here.
And now I feel like people are going to be forced to turn it up to 2 to get through it.
Oh, it's true. I will say about podcasting, and Mathman, again, I'm just so happy you're here. And like podcasting to me, when I started listening to podcasts and listening to, like, you know, all the big ones, right? But then I found John and Dave and like the smaller podcast and found out that that's a thing. And then I can like talk to these people on Twitter, and then like I can jump in their podcast and do crazy quizzes with them, and that's a thing. And then it's kind of like this, and this is a small tangent, but I promise it'll be quick. But there was I don't know, it was like a
Small,
This American Life
quick.
or some, I know, right? This American Life or something where they were talking about podcasts, and they were talking about how back in the day, right, when you were friends with someone, you would talk on the phone. So you would talk on the phone with someone for maybe hours sometimes. And so what this woman did is she was like, I'm going to record like my life story, right? And I'm going to give it to you to listen to. And I feel like that's what podcasts do, is it brings people together, and it's like, I know Trashturkey, or I know Surge. I know these people because I've listened to them, and they talk, they say a lot, but that's okay, right? But like we listen to each other's stories and what kind of games we play, and I just love the idea of becoming friends by listening to each other talk and just kind of growing together like that. So I just think podcasting is really cool, and the way that it allows us to kind of bond together over shared experiences and just what we're currently doing.
Yeah, that is really cool. And it's funny is that I will say when I first ran into you and Serge, I thought you guys were the celebrities.
Oh no! See that's what like blows my mind. Like that is, I mean, that is the craziest thing. I mean, it's just fun. It really is fun that I mean, like I said, John and Dave, I remember John, this was the spark that made me think maybe I could do this. He was using, and I mean, everybody's heard this, but maybe not. He was using Hello Kitty headphones that he took from his daughter, right? And so it was like, I could steal some headphones from my daughter. Like, you know, so anyways, it just, and for anybody to think that, you know, that I'm a podcaster, like to me, I'm just talking to friends on the internet. Like I told my wife tonight, I said, thank you for letting me talk to, I said, strangers on the internet, just to be funny. But like, you know, like this is my friends on the internet, you know, where I can geek out and talk about video games. Like nobody that I mean, some people like games, but there's maybe one guy that I know that likes games, but that's really all that. It's a really cool place. And I've heard before, I'm sorry, I'm like, my coffee is running out. But like when you find a friend, when they say something and you think to yourself, oh, you too? So you too like this, or you too like that? And it kind of just, I don't know, it's a way to build friendship. So I think having a love of games and just random things like this that we could talk about is pretty exciting. So I'm glad to build friendships with you guys.
Most definitely. Yeah, I know there's one last little thing that, you know, we normally talk about what we're going to be playing in the future. Like, what are you playing for the upcoming month? And this has really been bothering me. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I just want to, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh.
That's
I think we need to
beautiful.
change it.
Absolutely beautiful.
Dragon Quest 2? Dragon Quest 3? What is that?
Mario's Math.
Dragon Ball Z.
Mario is
Okay.
missing.
Okay. So maybe I should just do this.
Oh.
Danganronpa.
Oh, Chrono Cross.
2.
You shut your mouth.
infamous upcoming C game. Is that what this is?
So I know this is not Control. I know this is
Party.
not some janky bootleg import that you've got. It is Chrono Trigger for the DS. It is pristine. And if Grouchie was up for playing this, because you can play this portably. I mean, this is the DS. If you've got either like a doorstop 2DS or a regular 3DS, this is going to be perfect for you to play on the go. Now, there are 3 save files on here. Yeah, and one more. And I would let you borrow this. I'll mail it to you. And there's a save file that you'll be able to use because there's one on there that I'd rather you not erase because it's got a few new game pluses on there, and all of my characters have maxed out their HP and the MP. But if you'd be willing to play this, I'd be more than happy to send it to you to let you borrow this. There's what you might be playing in the future. Okay, you know what? Yeah, that is a jerk move. All right, I'm showing you the best that I have, and you pull out your Super Famicom Chrono Trigger. You know what? I think it's time for me to do some house cleaning on Twitter and Twitch. I've got too many friends, too many people that I follow. It's time for me to scale that down. You know what?
You need to get rid of the backlog.
No. Well,
Yeah. That's Oliver goal.
You know what the biggest problem I have with Chrono Trigger? A few years back, Square had a sale for the DS game for $10. By the time I found out about it, it was sold out.
Yep.
And now you can't find the cartridge at a reasonable rate. And like, that just kind of eats at me because I know I could have had it for $10 and I went there to buy it. But like now it's like, even just pulling up Amazon, you're looking at like $50, $60, $80 for a new sealed one.
Well, maybe I won't send it to you.
Well, like I said, I do have the game in a bootleg form, but it is the game. But I have started because I saw that you've been following someone who's been playing Chrono Trigger Plus.
Yeah.
And that has got my curiosity. So now I want to look into that because if that's something that would be easily accessible and I could throw on my R2-D2 cartridge and put that in my DS and play it, I might go that round because it says it put in a bunch of stuff that had been taken out.
Though I do hear that. I mean, I will admit that the DS version of Chrono Trigger is supposed to be like the definitive version, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's pretty nice what they've done with the touchscreen. Really easy to access the menu screen and your items and your spells. It's really nice, very clean. There's also a version you can get for, I believe, Android and iOS. But I think some of the ports that they made for like the Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, the Dragon Quest games, there are some subtle differences. And there was also that issue with just control, right? I mean, you've got
Right, my C game, Control.
No. You know what?
No. Chrono Cross is going to be my C game.
Wait, Chrono Cross. Okay, well, that's a double C.
I know, I'm joking. I almost did pick up the Chrono Trigger Chrono Cross disc at one point, but I've never really heard great positive things about Cross. So
I've heard mixed reviews about that one as well.
Yeah. Patrick?
No. Actually, I've never beaten Chrono Cross. I want to, but I can never really get into it. I know, though, that someone really, really enjoys the game.
That would be me. I've played through the game 2-3 times now. Definitely the most interesting and unique battle system on the PS1. Comes highly recommended by me. I can understand why it's not for everybody, but I think it should be. But before this drags on till 2 a.m., I'm going to leave the conversation there because I could talk for hours.
Okay, it was nice talking to you.
Bye, guys.
Did we have anything else?
There were a couple
there's a handful of more questions.
Yeah, we can maybe lightning round these.
This one's exclusively for Surge, and it kind of follows up the last question that we had.
Is it why is the Backlog Odyssey so sexy?
No, not that yet. Where the inappropriate word is that Skinny Mac guy And why is he so, inappropriate word, busy?
He pretends he has like a wife and a family and some kids and like 3 jobs, and he's working all the time. But we all know he's really just hiding out in Rochester, going to like the old game museum and playing Atari games.
Moving back to the question, so we're not here all night. Hungry Pup asks, I'm gonna take a section of this question. Sorry, Hungry Pup. What was the first video game you got stuck in because you didn't know where to go? For me, that's going to be Final Fantasy IV on the Super Nintendo because I was a kid, didn't know where to go. I can't remember the specific part. Somewhere around the antlion den, I'm pretty sure. How about you guys?
E.T., the extraterrestrial. You're walking, you fall in a ditch. You make your mouth real large, you kind of do something, levitate, get out of a ditch, then you go back in a ditch. That's as far as I ever got. I don't know what happened. The game was horrible. It was awful. I owned it. I got rid of it.
For me, it's probably either, and I know all 3 of them have similar things that had me stuck, but it's either Breath of Fire 2, Breath of Fire 3, or Wild Arms. Each of them had kind of like a section where you had to wander a desert to get to some oasis. I think it's Breath of Fire 3 where you have to follow the stars and line them up properly so you can find that oasis. And I remember wandering that darn desert for hours trying to find that freaking desert or oasis.
Well, that's a shame because that's right at the end of the game.
I know.
Math man, what do you say?
Sorry, I was trying to have a conversation with my son who I woke up. What was the question?
Oh, a game that you were
What was the first game you got stuck on?
I can take it, Math man, if you want to think. So I would say, with that NES, I got I think I got the action pack. So Super Mario Brothers, I knew that I should go to the right. So I knew where I should go. I just couldn't get there. I will say the other game that I got was the great original Ninja Turtles game. I knew that I should disarm these bombs and not get stung by these jellyfish-looking algae things. But that's where the game ended for me. I could not defuse the bombs, and that's where I was stuck underwater as a turtle, which you'd think. I guess they're amphibians, right? So they're not. They don't just stay underwater. They can go both ways.
I think for me, one of the games we had on our NES was Pitfall or Super Pitfall. I can't remember what the name was, but it was just such a horrible game. The controls were bad, one-hit kills, limited ammo.
Did it have ammo? I'm getting slap happy.
Yeah. For the NES one, it did. You had to pick up a gun.
Wow.
And you had
gators.
No, there were hopping frogs. I believe there were bats, and I never really knew where to go. And every time I got to someplace, I felt like I had done something, but it was really hard to figure out where you were supposed to go. It wasn't linear. It wasn't, just move to the right like a Mario Brothers game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you watch videos of that or you hear people talk about it, it's just not a good game. But it's one of those games that, that's what you got on the NES. And we didn't rent this because your parents bought it because they thought it was going to be just as fun as it was on the Atari. And it's not. So you're going to keep playing it, and you're going to make your parents happy that you're playing it.
That's right.
Serge, what you got for us?
E.T., the extraterrestrial. I feel like we've been here before.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's the truth.
It's a little late. All right. The next question is one that we messed up last time. Big apology to Hummert. But I'll read through the original question and then through his response to our answering the original question. What game in your backlog are you most nervous about taking on, either because of a long playtime, high difficulty, or whatever reason you have to be nervous? His response to that was, "Thanks, Backlog Busters, for answering my question. Though it got misread and taken out of context. It was read on the podcast as taking on instead of, or talking on instead of taking on. I was looking more for an example. I'm nervous about taking on The Witcher 3 because it's such a long game."
So I'll jump in. My first reaction to this is really most Atlas RPGs, Persona games, stuff like that, because I absolutely love the games that I've played. I love the play style. I like catching and summoning demons as if they're like little cute Pokemon. But, Persona 4, Persona 5, they're like 100-hour games. I like the games, and I would love to be able to get through the story, but I know me, I'll get 15 to 20 hours in and realize I'm never getting to the ending. With that being said, I may or may not have ordered the steelbook version of Persona 5R, and I may or may not ever beat it. May not, will not, cannot. But the steelbook is going to be real cute. Huh? I need to cancel that order. Really need to cancel that order.
I'll say mine is going to be Dragon Marked for Death. So this is a game that I always buy the Indie Creates games just because I'm like, I'm going to buy that game and it's going to be great. Then I don't play them. But this one in particular, I really was excited about when it was announced because it's a 2D action RPG, but it kind of has more of a multiplayer function to it, where really difficult to play by yourself. But the community, I guess, is not really non-existent, but kind of. There's not a whole lot of people that play the game. I'm fearful to play it because I think it's just going to be way too difficult to play by myself. And so it's kind of one of those games where,
for me, a game in particular, I've been kind of hesitant to start. And it's mostly because, first I'll say it, I guess it's Mario versus Rabbids, or Mario plus Rabbids, or whatever. And the reason why I'm hesitant to start it is because, although I really like strategy games and tactics games and things like that, I find when I start them, because they're so slow paced, I find I get distracted by other shorter games, and then I get out of the groove of playing them. And I know that because it's such it's a Mario game for one, it would be easy to play when my son is around and he'd be interested in seeing it and everything. But I always worry that I'll get into it and drop it because I've already done that. If it happens one time, it'll probably happen again. So I've been hesitant to go back and start it again.
Oh, Mario plus Rabbids is a really, really good game.
Yeah, and it's super fun from what I've played. But again, those types of games, I guess it's like you, Serge, with any RPG, it's a commitment to start it and a commitment to keep going once you start it instead of dropping it halfway through for something easier and shorter to play.
That's one game that something similar. I got to like the fourth world and stopped playing, but my wife 100% completed the game before the DLC came out. So wow. She's got that hanging over my head forever.
She got all the trophies.
Yes, all the trophies on the Nintendo Switch.
That's another thing too. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You're good. You're good.
Okay. Well, that's another thing too, is that like if a game has upcoming DLC, I'll be hesitant to play it until the DLC is released because I want the full experience. Because if I beat a game like The Witcher 3, which is a good 100+ hour game, I'm hard pressed to go back and replay it to play the DLC because I have a hard time revisiting a game and playing it from where I left off when I played it 3 years ago.
I have a hard time going back to games anyway, especially like if I beat them and moved on. But there are certain games with DLC where it's like, I really, really wish I wouldn't have played the game so that I could pick it up now, get that first experience of playing it, and then get the DLC at the same time, like The Messenger. Like, I probably won't go back and play that to play the DLC, but I absolutely loved the game. And it's like an experience. I'm happy that I went through it. I'm happy I powered through it, and didn't give up on some of the hard parts and some of the hard bosses. But man, it's like, I want to play the DLC, but at the same time, it's like, do I really want to go back to the game? I rolled credits. I'm happy with how I left it.
For me, the game that I'm concerned about checking off my backlog, that I'm concerned about checking off my backlog is actually Control. And the reason I'm concerned about it, it's not because it's going to be long or because it's going to be difficult, but because the rumors I've been hearing is that it doesn't run the best on an Xbox One. That there's even issue loading on the Xbox One X. So I'm nervous to jump into it on my Xbox One because I'm afraid I won't have a high quality experience. Don't want to lose that. So I'm tempted to wait until I end up picking up a Series X where I know it's probably going to run good. But I don't know if I can wait that long, but that's what I'm concerned about.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
The last question that we have, I'm gonna change the wording just a little so that it's not quite as awkward. Why is the Backlog Odyssey so darn sexy? Like, have you seen this guy? It's ridiculous.
I have an answer for
Ryan
that.
wants to go.
Yeah.
Go.
It's all about the beard.
I think it's the beard glasses combo. I think it's yes, like that. Yeah, that's what does it.
Yeah, I
That
thought
in
so.
fact.
So
That's
my
why I don't
follow-up,
wear them like that.
my follow-up question is, why did you go from babyface to bearded man?
I got older.
Like with me, if you look at my wedding photos, I've got a baby face, but I shaved just so the wife could have those pictures the way she wanted them.
Well, if you want the etymology of my beard, I could talk about that.
I love edamames.
Edamame, yep. No, I mean, for a long time I shaved clean, and then high school I started growing a little chin thing, and then just 2 years ago I just decided, hey, I want to grow the full thing, and so I did.
So
And
it's a
it just so
recent
happened,
addition.
yeah. So it just so happened to start growing in like this. That was it. I did dye it once. It was a huge mistake.
Yeah, see, my wife, she knows some people who use like Just for Men and stuff like that. And she threatened me with divorce if I ever do something so stupid because it looks fake and awful and everybody knows anyway. And I was like, I want more white and less color, so we're good.
No, my wife wanted to try dyeing her hair. So I said, but she was nervous about it damaging her hair or whatever. It's like, well, if you try it, I'll do it. So she got the dye, I got the dye, and she was dyeing hers a color, like a fun color, like pink. I was just dyeing it to my quote unquote natural color, which was much darker than my natural color. And it just looked like I took a Sharpie marker and just like drew all over my face.
Oh no.
It was terrible. It was so bad.
Well, with that, we're the Backlog Busters. iTunes, Spotify, Yanni. Not the guitar player.
Transcript.
Text a transcript. If you've listened this far, that means you're crazy. Yeah, I gotta go night.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a wonderful
Thank
evening,
you.
morning, afternoon, wherever you are in your day. Make it a good one.
Yep. I'll see you
Gobble.
later today.
Gobble.
Peace.
Dear Backloggers, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday recording a podcast about games that came out years ago. But we think you're crazy to make us write this essay telling you what games we bought on sale. The backlog grows as it wants to grow. We play on easy mode. We don't often roll credits. But what we found out is that each of us has the blues, is an Odyssey and a Blaze Knight, a Math Man and a Turkey. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, the Backlog Busters. Backlog.